In this lesson, we're reviewing time limits, run rules, and mathematical elimination. These rules don't show up in high school, collegiate, or professional baseball, but they're extremely common in youth baseball. Let's start by reviewing time limits. Almost every baseball game played below the high school level will have a time limit, and usually that time limit will be anywhere between 1 to 2 hours. It's important to always double check what the time limit is supposed to be for the game you're working, and always bring it up to the coaches at the plate meeting. Usually, the base umpire is the one who will keep the clock. They can track it in a number of ways, including using a watch, a phone, a stopwatch, or a timer. Note that in higher levels of baseball, it's very unprofessional to keep a phone on the field, so in those situations, it's better to use a watch, a stopwatch, or a timer. And if you are going to use it on a phone, you need to make sure that you're only using the phone to check the time. Don't be on your phone during the game or between innings. Just use the phone for a timer. In most leagues, the clock starts at the end of the plate meeting, but in some scenarios, it may start at the first pitch. For games where it starts at the plate meeting's end, you should go through the entire plate meeting and then at the end of the plate meeting, tell the coaches exactly when you are starting the clock. It's important to let them know exactly when the clock starts to avoid getting into disagreements when trying to end the game. Now let's talk about how the game ends in a time limit situation. It ends when the exact amount of time has been used. If time expires during the last play of an inning, so long as the last out of the inning is recorded after the time expires, there will be no new inning. What's important to note here is that after the third out in the bottom of an inning, the next inning immediately begins. So if the third out in the bottom of an inning happens just before time expires, then a new inning is started and we're going to have to play the new inning. Now, once time expires, there's 3 ways the game can end. The first is that the visiting team is losing and completes their at-bat in the inning. So if the visiting team is trailing and they're batting, they get to complete their at-bat to see if they can tie or take the lead. Once the visiting team's at-bat ends and they're still trailing, then the game is over. The second way is that the home team is on offense and winning. So if the home team has the lead and then time expires while they're still hitting, the game is immediately over. The third scenario is that the home team is losing or tied and they complete their last at-bat in the inning. So if time expires while the home team is batting and they're either trailing or tied, then we keep completing the at-bat until either the home team wins the game or their at-bat ends. Then, once the game is over, you signal this by crossing your arms in an X shape in front of your chest while saying ball game. Next, let's discuss run rules. A run rule is a game-ending rule that states, the game shall end when the visiting team is behind X or more runs after Y and a half innings or after the Z inning, if either team is X runs behind and both teams have had an equal number of times at bat. So this rule is less common in lower levels of recreational baseball, but it becomes more prevalent in higher levels of baseball, including high school and collegiate baseball. Usually, it's given as X number of runs after Y number of innings. An example would be 15 runs after 3 innings and 10 runs after 5. Thus, the full rule would read, the game shall end when the visiting team is behind 15 or more runs after 2.5 innings, or after the third inning if either team is 15 runs behind and both teams have had an equal number of times at bat. So to analyze this, after the visiting team has completed their 3 at-bats and they trail by 15 or more runs, then the game is over. And after the home team completes their third at-bat, if they're trailing by 15 or more runs, the game is over. Now this rule continues with the 10 after 5, and that would read, the game shall end when the visiting team is behind 10 or more runs after 4.5 innings, or after the 5th inning, if either team is 10 or more runs behind and both teams have had an equal number of times at bat. Again, let's talk about when a run rule ends the game. A run rule will never be called during the visiting team's at bat. It can only end a game when both teams have had an equal number of times at bat. The visiting team cannot win a run rule until the end of a full inning. The home team can win by run rule on either a walk-off or after retiring the visiting team. Here's some examples if we're using the 10 runs after 5 innings rule. If the visitors are leading 10-0, the game could not end until the completion of the 5th inning. If the home team is leading 0-10, the game can end after the top of the 5th is completed because the losing team will have had all 5 at-bats. If the home team is leading 0-9 going into the bottom of the 5th, scoring 1 run at any point in that half inning will end the game. Finally, let's talk about mathematical elimination. This is most common in lower levels of baseball and requires there be a run limit per inning. An example of a run rule would be a team not being allowed to score more than 5 runs in an inning. Note that this is like a walk-off in professional baseball, except now it's every inning. So if a base hit scores the 5th run in an inning, the turn at bat ends when that run crosses the plate. But if an out-of-the-park home run or any other play that's awarded bases occurs, then the turn at bat ends when the award of bases is complete. Here's some examples in a game where we're playing a 5-run limit per inning. The team at bat has already scored 4 runs and has the bases loaded. In situation 1, B4 hits a double to right field. As soon as R3 scores, the inning is over. 5 runs total scoring the inning. In scenario B, B4 hits a home run out of the park. This results in awarding home to all runners, including the batter runner. So 8 runs total score in this inning. Again, the important differentiation here is that in the second scenario, this is an award of bases. Now, mathematical elimination and time limits. Time limits do not affect mathematical elimination until time has expired. So, as long as any amount of time is on the clock, the only factor in mathematical elimination is the number of innings left in a regulation game. And if mathematically the losing team could tie or take the lead by maxing out the run limit in all of their remaining at-bats. This is calculated by multiplying the run limit per inning by the number of at-bats remaining for the trailing team. Again, until time has expired, the likelihood of a team actually getting those at-bats completed under the time limit is not relevant. Even if there's only 5 minutes left and a team would need to get at least 2 at-bats to tie the game, we still have to keep playing until time expires. And here are more examples. In a league that has a 5-run limit per inning and plays 6 innings with a 1 hour and 30-minute time limit. If the time has not expired, the game will not end until situation 1. After 4 turns at bat, the losing team trails by 11 runs or more. The reason for this is that with a 5-run limit per inning, the losing team could still max out their scoring and get a total of 10 runs in the game. So even if there are only 5 minutes left, the fact that they have 2 at-bats means that so long as they are not losing by 11 or more runs, we continue playing. Situation 2 is that after 5 turns at bat, if the losing team trails by 6 runs or more. Again, the reason here is that they have 1 more turn at bat, and the run limit is 5 runs per at bat. Now, if time does expire, the game will end as soon as one team leads by more than the run limit per inning, or until the inning is completed. So, as soon as time expires, if one team leads by 6 or more runs, then the game would end because neither team can score 6 runs in an inning. The game also ends in the top of an inning if the visiting team goes up by 6 runs or more. Again, this is because the home team, having their full at bat, could not come back to tie the game. Then, after the top of the inning, if the visiting team is trailing, the game is over. Also, if in the bottom of the inning the home team takes the lead, since time has expired, the game is over. And finally, if after the end of the bottom of the inning, if the home team does not take the lead, the game is over. So there you go. That's the basics of time limits, run rules, and mathematical elimination and how they'll apply in your games. Now, before moving on to the next lesson, leave a comment with at least one takeaway from this video. Remember, what gets written gets remembered. Also, then you can complete this unit's quiz, which is linked below.